Taras Berezovets, journalist and political analyst in Ukraine. Until a few weeks ago, you were broadcasting from a television studio. I won't ask you to divulge your current location, but I do want to know how you're holding up.
Well, Dan, thanks for inviting me again. I'm here in Ukraine. I'm very close to Kyiv, and I spent several days in Kyiv, just in the very center of world geopolitics, meeting with people from territorial defense, armed forces, local administration, and others. And it looks like Kyiv nowadays, well, is a fortress which Putin cannot crush. And the only thing he can do, he can continue these atrocities, attacking civilian population, killing kids, pregnant women, elderly people, and whatsoever. Because he cannot defeat Ukrainian armed forces on a battlefield. That's why he uses his cruelty and he uses these atrocities to crush the will of Ukrainian people, of Ukrainian armed forces to defend. But he is not going to succeed, I can tell you. No way, Ukrainian nation is not going to surrender to this evil. And finally, we understand that this evil will be defeated here on Ukrainian soil. We're fighting here not for only every Ukrainian. We are fighting here for every European, every American, every man of goodwill. Luckily enough, my and my friends, families are now in a safe place, but we are now very close to the battlegrounds, and every night, every day, we hear the sirens in the city, in Kyiv, namely, and in other places where we travel to. Every night we hear these sirens warning about airstrikes and Russian attacks from the air. And once, then I was sleeping just in one location, the missile hit the next building, which was only 200 meters from me, and it was just a huge noise. The blast was heard. Luckily enough, nobody was killed in this attack because people already moved from there. But I would never forget this sound of this rocket hitting civilian object.
Indeed, the Russians demanded that the city of Mariupol surrender willingly. However, Ukraine has refused and the fight continues. There's a lot of discussion in Western media about a diplomatic off-ramp for Putin in this war. Do you think that's possible? Do you think a negotiated peace is even possible between Ukraine and the Russian Federation?
Well, I would say that Putin would be ready for these peace negotiations only if he thinks that he succeeded in his military operation, and if he would conquer some important cities here within Ukraine. The most crucial thing which Vladimir Putin is pursuing here is to occupy all Ukrainian ports and to cut off Ukraine from Black Sea and Azov Sea. And nowadays, city of Mariupol on Azov and the city of Odessa on the Black Sea stands against this aggression. And what we see in Mariupol nowadays is a Guernica of Spanish Civil War or Stalingrad during the World War II, because we understand that Putin gave an order to Russian armed forces and to these proxies from DNR and LNR to destroy city completely. They move within the borders of Mariupol, destroying every object, both civilians, administrative, military, all of them. They want to destroy it completely and to leave Mariupol as a city of his fierce attacks and of his military crimes, which he commits on Ukrainian soil. And as far as we know, what we heard from our armed forces and presidential administration, they were trying to send some reinforcements to Mariupol, but unfortunately, it's not seems to be possible to save the lives of Ukrainians staying there. I have some relatives very close of kin of mine who are staying still in the city of Mariupol, and we didn't hear any news from them for more than 10 days, but luckily enough, they managed to call us somehow. And they spend all the time in a bomb shelter because Russians killed nearly all their neighbors. Everybody who was trying to escape by private cars, they just shot them or they attacked in any other way. And as we know, they killed even kids who were trying to escape city of Mariupol, shooting them down from their light weapons. So I would say that after all these military crimes, war crimes, which Putin committed on our soil, I talked to our officers, and they said they're not going to have any sort of peace talks. They don't want any sort of peace talks, at least until the last Russian soldier would be buried here in Ukrainian soil or he would leave Ukrainian territory. So I would say that even if Ukrainian president would be seeking these sort of negotiations, Ukrainian armed forces would not put up with it. They will continue their fight against these murderers because a lot of them already lost very close friends of them or lost their relatives.
There were some reports that President Zelensky made comments similar to the idea that Russia could only take a Ukrainian city if they killed all the residents. Is that your assessment? Do you agree with that?
I would say, well, my assessment, the assessment of military experts whom I talked to, they're not going to let anyone from Mariupol. They already let to escape maximum about 50,000 people, and still 350,000 people are locked within the city of Mariupol. We don't know if he's going to kill all of them, but it looks like that he's pursuing, like I said, the strategy of accumulation of Ukrainian nation, and he wants to break the will of Ukrainian soldiers and Ukrainian civilians, and he wants everybody to surrender. It looks like if no reinforcements are going to be sent to city of Mariupol, this fortress on Azov Sea can be captured within days, within next few days. But as far as we know from people from Azov, I'm not talking to them directly, but I have communication with Azov through other communication channels. So they understand that they all will be killed, all of them, or tortured to death. So they're not going to surrender, and the city will not be captured at least until the last Ukrainian Marine or Ukrainian soldier from Azov will be still alive in Mariupol. So like I said, it may take several days or even more than a week.
Well, we'll be surely watching that and reviewing those developments. I want to ask you about communications in Ukraine. I know that we were speaking before about the fact that you were previously broadcasting from a television studio. Obviously, it's difficult for Ukrainians to communicate now, and for you to maybe communicate with your viewers. How are you spreading your message, or how are you reporting these days?
It's a very good question, Dan. What we do, I have my own YouTube channel, Taras Berezovets, and I'm reporting from this channel directly in both in Russian and Ukrainian, making live interviews with Ukrainian officials, military officers, and some former governmental officials like former Prime Minister Volodymyr Groysman. I made an interview with him, or former Interior Minister Arsen Avakov, which was also live on my channel. And apart from that, together with our colleagues from our Kyiv channel, Premay, we now launched a new channel, especially targeting Russian population, I mean Russian citizens in Russian Federation, to tell them the truth about what's going on here in Ukraine, what's going on in Russia. And this channel is called in Russian Утро февраля, or February morning in English. And it's becoming more and more popular, mainly because Russian government shut down the biggest independent media like Echo Moskvy and the TV channel Dosh. So the audience of this Russian media is now watching our channel, and we have now a lot of hundreds of thousands of views. We're making interviews with Russian opposition leaders, Ukrainian, Russian, and Western military experts, economists, and so on. And this channel is broadcasting 24 hours a day. So This is like a new channel, but we are now broadcasting on YouTube, and we're conducting negotiations because we want to go on satellite. So more people in the whole world can watch and get information here from the ground in Ukraine. And we're based in Kyiv partially, and partially we're based in some undisclosed locations close to Kyiv.
You're in communication with some Ukrainian military officials. What, in your assessment, is it going to take for Ukraine to win this war? And what's the timeline?
It's a good question. Nobody would give you an answer, but mainly what military experts and officers say, it will last 2 months. It can last 2 months, or it can last 6 months. But general assessment of Ukrainian military whom I talked to, they think this active phase of this war will last at least until autumn, so another half a year. Which doesn't mean that the war would be over. We might have some sort of peace negotiations or whatsoever. And after that, they say, all of them, that Putin is using these peace talks only to have more time, to find some military resources, to build more weapons and bring them to Ukraine. So he uses these negotiations just to cheat on Ukrainian president, that's all. So they expect, like I said, even there would be some military agreement achieved with Ukrainian government, still Putin will attack in several months because his target is to destroy Ukraine as an independent country and the Ukrainian nation as a whole. He wants to occupy all of it, no exception. Well, previously, Russian military experts said that Putin wants to occupy 2/3 of Ukrainian territory, with only exception of Western Ukraine. But now we understand he wants to occupy all of it, including Western regions, Lviv, Zakarpattia, Volyn, Ivano-Frankivsk, Ternopil, all of it. He wants to occupy it, have his concentration camps here, Ukrainian patriots tortured to death or put in concentration camps, or to make them to leave the country. So he doesn't want to make any exceptions for anyone. He wants all us either to be killed or to leave our country forever.
Well, Taras, I want to thank you for continuing your work. We're certainly going to follow any developments. I hope that we can continue to talk, and I hope that you remain safe. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, Dan. My pleasure. And слава Україні, слава Збройним силам України, слава нашим захисникам. God bless Ukraine. Glory to Ukraine and glory to Ukrainian armed forces.
Героям слава.